So I'm very much of the mindset there's not one right way to do things. So I would never be the person to be like, oh, this is exactly how you have to run class, or this is how you have to pay your coaches, or this is how you have to do X, Y, Z. I love the affiliate model, and I love the freedom that it grants us as business owners to express our vision in our business. So for me, 3 guiding principles that I think can be applied and modified to whatever your particular circumstances are professional, inclusive, effective. So if we think about those things, we break them down. So professional is when your members come in, they want to feel like they're having a professional experience. The coaches know what they're talking about. They're equipped to work with people of a variety of backgrounds, variety of orthopedic issues. The facilities are professional in terms of they're clean, the equipment works, they're greeted at the front desk, they're taken care of. So to me, being professional is being prepared, being honest, and being humble. That we have a lot of responsibility. People putting their safety, their health, their fitness into our hands. And that being said, again, this is always a learning process. Things are going to come across your plate that you're like, I'm not sure how to deal with this. And having the humility to be like, I'm going to find out more about this, or I'm going to ask this member more about this condition they have. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to go out of my way to consistently make myself better. I think that in this industry, you kind of have to have kind of a maternal, paternal instinct where you come from the perspective, I need to support and take care of these people. These people are in my charge, and there's a lot of responsibility that goes into that. So again, being prepared and being humble and being honest is really important, because you want to earn those people's trust, but you can never think that you know it all. You can never be satisfied that, okay, I'm this amazing coach and everyone's paying for the privilege to be with me. This is a learning experience, and we're all learning together and through each other. Professional, inclusive, effective. Inclusive being that anybody should be able to walk into your gym and feel like they're accepted for who they are and then challenged to get better. So it doesn't matter if the person who's a heavy hitter, fitness freak who's going to come in and wants to try to go to regionals, or the person who is 40 pounds overweight, hasn't worked out in a decade, and they're absolutely terrified to walk in the gym on day one. If you can create an environment where people feel like, hey, I'm safe here, I'm supported, I'm okay, and I'm treated with respect and kindness and empathy, then again, you can apply that to anything, any sort of different ways you do that, but that's gonna help keep people around. So one of the hallmarks of our CrossFit group classes is our question of the day, and I can't express how helpful it is for developing community, for making people feel at ease, and having a little ritual to start class.
Your name and what's something that's overrated?
Janet, brunch.
Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Go around the circle, you say your name. Question of the day. Would you rather have enormous buck teeth that came down to your chin, or calves that were a foot wide?
And it's sometimes less about the question, it's more about creating an atmosphere where it sort of highlights every single person in that class, at least for a moment. Because people love it, and it just sets the tone for the class. It really sets it like, hey, we're all here together, let's have a good time, let's work together, and it really just adds an element of humanity and fun and kind of just a chill little vibe to the beginning of class, and people really like it.
Tell us something interesting that happened today. Something interesting that happened today.
Professional, inclusive, effective. It's nice to have nice facilities and for it to be warm and fuzzy and have a fun community, but at the end of the day, we have to get people better. So one of the beautiful things about CrossFit that we all know is how quantifiable it is, and we can see those benchmarks increasing over time, but ultimately it has to transcend that. It has to be, the person who for the first time came 3 times a week to group classes, and that was the first time they'd ever done that. The person who came to their first social event at the gym, which they were terrified, they didn't know anybody, and they made a couple new friends. So there's so many ways that people can leverage the gym, the community, the culture to make themselves better, to increase the quality of their life, both in terms of like how much weight they can lift, but how they feel when they wake up, what they think when they look at themselves in the mirror. It's more than what's on the whiteboard. It's about that experience that people have coming to your gym and growing through it.
Well done. Way to stick with it. Good job, everybody.
At the end of the day, again, it comes down to, I think, professional, inclusive, effective. That can happen in a 1,200 square foot, little tiny gym that can happen in a 10,000 square foot facility. And you can miss the mark too. Just because you have nice stuff, nice equipment, a big facility, that doesn't mean that you've got heart. And people don't come for the equipment, they come for the experience. There's a very visceral element to what we do that has to be there. And I started in a park. We had no bathrooms. We had people who would be covered in dirt after class because the floor was filthy. We had almost no equipment, but people kept coming back because my intention was to make it the best hour of their day. And I didn't have any facility, barely any equipment, but I could leverage my own experience as a coach and my own ability to kind of empathize with people and give them the experience that they were looking for, and that just kept them coming back. So it's not about the facility. When you get the capacity to have the fancier equipment, the nice facilities, more space, awesome. Take that ball and run with it. But ultimately it comes down to the heart. It comes down to, do people feel welcome, safe, and do they feel like this is the place where they're gonna get better? We're very specific with our language with our kids' programs, and we always want to try to reward effort over talent. But the big thing that we want to get across to the kids is about working hard, to perseverance. So if a kid is struggling with something and they keep trying, and then they get it, that's when we really want to kind of reward the kids and highlight it to the other children. So it's more process-based sort of accolades than it is just sort of, oh, you did something that you kind of already knew how to do.